Welcome, everybody, to the Probate Mastery Group coaching call. I'm coming to you live today from the beautiful Ritz-Carlton in Miami, Florida. Just kidding. I'm at a hunting lodge in Central Florida, but close, right? We decided to run away from 18 inches of snow and come down to have a little mini summertime. Bill Gross, I'm glad to see you brought the baby, as expected, just on time. How can I help any of you guys today? Chris, I just saw your hand up, so you go ahead first.
Hi, I put this on the Facebook page, but I have some more information. So from the buyer side, my client is looking for some acreage. We found a property and I made a phone call because we're looking for some seller financing. And the listing agent told me that the son was selling. And I said, so has the mother, is she the decedent? And she said, yes. I said, so you're in probate or you're working towards probate? No, there's no probate. And I said, okay, thinking maybe it already happened or maybe there was a trust. I hadn't dug deep into in terms of the tax records. And then she said something that was a red flag because I asked about seller finance. She goes, well, the estate doesn't want to, but he does. And I said, estate? So have you gone through probate? No, there's no probate. He's in charge. So I hung up from that call and I did some digging, and the property is still in the mother's name. And there has been zero transactions. I had a friend of mine in title go back all the way to the 60s. She had to do a deep dive to access the original transaction. So I called the real estate agent back and I said, I'm a little confused why the title is still held in the mother's name since she is deceased and it hasn't been through probate. It isn't written in trust. So does the seller have the legal authority to sell the property? Oh yeah, he's in charge. He's the executor. And I said, if there's a will, we still have to go through probate because he has to have a probate judge assign him as the personal representative in order to list the property. Do you have that paperwork? No, I don't know. And then she said, well, I don't usually ask for that right away. So I didn't want to argue with her. So I just simply said, okay, let me know what your seller says about the financing terms we had discussed. And she hasn't gotten back to me since. And that was on Friday. So I'm just wondering if I'm missing something.
No, she is.
Okay, that's what my friend in title, who knows quite a bit about probate, said. But I thought, is it even possible to go through the probate process and still have the property in the decedent's name?
Not after the probate process has closed. It has to be transferred, either sold or interfamily transfer. She just simply doesn't understand the process. She needs to go through session one.
Right. If I hadn't known what I know and I had made an offer and this was going through escrow, it would have fallen apart, correct?
Depends on your buyer's patience level, really. It wouldn't have fallen apart. When the title came back, they wouldn't be able to close the chain of title.
Right.
So what that agent will find out is her client, and this is where I'll try to be as nice as I can be, but this is the difference between us and the other agents. Like, it's impossible to work with them. They don't take the time to educate themselves on how this works, but they're proud to call themselves a fiduciary of that client, right? So what will happen, let's just say you went through with it. The contract would go into escrow. They would do the title search. Title would come back in the decedent's name. There wouldn't be any record of probate, no letters of testamentary. Whether there's a will or not, someone from the family needs to either read the will and see who the named executor or executrix is, or they need to appoint some responsible member of the family to go petition the court for probate. Then when they have the articles, the letters of testamentary, then they can bring that back to title and they'll get the title binder and then you can close. It could only be like a 1 or 2 week delay if everybody does what they're supposed to do. So that's what I mean by it. It's really up to your buyer and their patience level. If it's really a property they want and they're willing to wait, then put it in escrow and let them go fumble their way through it.
Okay.
Or say, you know what, listen, you give me a 25% referral off your side of the commission and I'll teach you how to do your job.
Okay. Because I'm assuming that he is the executor of the will, and that's why she keeps saying that he's in charge. But what I don't think she knows is that even with the will, you have to go through the probate.
And oftentimes families don't know. Like in my little county in West Virginia where I grew up, I was helping a family save a piece of land. And I went in, there are 53 probate cases being pushed through by the county because the family just didn't file probate. So they actually had to go through and clean up all of the estates. They had the death certificates. They knew the people had passed, but the families just weren't moving. So the state, eventually the county will move forward for them at a certain point if they don't do it. It's not uncommon for people to misunderstand.
Yeah, I noticed, Chris, you're in California. What's the value of the land? What's the approximate sales price?
About 300. It's almost 20 acres. And it did have a property on it. It's got some infrastructure, but the property was burned.
It's over 167 in California, which means it does have to go through probate. Sometimes land is below that threshold. I was gonna,
So what is that threshold? Is it 90 something thousand?
in California, 167.
Oh, 167. Okay.
And just add to what Chad said, I think that this is not a probate question, but it's really how you want to handle the realtor question, right? This is working with
Yeah.
our colleagues, and I make good money working with realtors who don't know what they're doing. And so you have to think about how do you want to strategically work that. The agent, in their mind, they have a contract signed. The truth is legal is not binding because the person who owns the property is dead.
Right.
And the person who she thinks is in control
Doesn't have
doesn't
authority.
have, if he doesn't have letters of testamentary, he doesn't really have authority to bind. Now, you may not want to tell them that because it might be your advantage for your buyer to think they're in a contract with you. Maybe you get them in a contract in escrow and then figure it out that way.
Okay.
Have you seen what is the name, the seller name on the listing agreement, Chris?
I don't know. I don't have his name.
But it's the family member, not the decedent.
Right. So it is the son. So the son was going to take over the property once the mom passed away and build a home on it. So I think they were in the process of building a home when when one of our wonderful California fires struck and wiped out the property. So I don't have any idea how long the mom has been gone, has been dead. So
The other thing is, depending what data source you use or your county, look up and see if a probate was open or not. Sometimes the realtor doesn't know. Like they just don't know to ask the question. They don't know somebody filed it. Maybe it's filed a year ago and just sat dormant. Maybe they filed it 3 months ago and the agent just is clueless or hasn't been told. I've seen these cases where they had a probate filed, they had letters of authority. Great, you can close. They don't even know that's the case.
Hmm.
Or maybe they filed, but their hearing is in 2 weeks. So now you'll know and when it got lined up and change the strategy. So I would research the name of the decedent. I would look in either your data source, if you're buying data, and or look in your county. You might be able to look up and find the decedent's probate case and see the status.
would it automatically be in the county where the property is located?
No, it'd be where the decedent passed.
So
Thank-
Chris, what I would recommend is because the listing agreement is in the proposed personal representative's name, I would go ahead and give them a purchase agreement, ratify the purchase agreement with his name on it. Because when he is appointed the executor or administrator, you can close the loop on that with the letters. So just so not to lose the deal for your buyer, because that's that would be the worst case scenario for you. Go ahead and go to a purchase agreement. And we both know it's not legally enforceable until he is holding the letters of testamentary. But I would go ahead and at least get that mental commitment from him that, hey, this property sold. And then he's going to realize what he has to retroactively go do in order to get it closed. That would be my advice, though, in a competitive marketplace. If it's not an easy to replace, go ahead and go to a purchase agreement and get him and the realtor wound up in it. And then go do that stuff. To call the county clerk, ask if probate has been filed. If not, send the realtor a detailed email saying, here are the steps that we're going to need. I'll go ahead and open escrow, but I'm going to let them know that this needs to be probated. And by the way, go ahead and prep your buyers and just say California courts are delayed right now. Are you guys like a short sale? Let's talk about worst case scenario. What if it takes us 6 months? Are you guys a buyer for this property 6 months from now? And if they say no, then you might go find another deal, but prepare them for the worst, the longest time frame that you think it might take. And then they'll be pleased when you close it in 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is Nina. If it's in California, that's probably the best approach that Chad is recommending because as soon as you open it, escrow is going to need proof of who is the PR. They're going to need proof who has letters. They're going to need all of who's the estate attorney that's handling the probate case. So it's going to force the listing agent in the PR to get this thing processed.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Evie. I just wanted to tell you too, Chris, that in California, it is delayed. I'm going through the same process now and it's taken us probably about 2.5 months. But the buyer really wants the property, so they're willing to wait.
Okay.
Kind of like the short sale conversation. This could take some time. If it takes 3 to 6 to 9 months, are you guys patient enough to stick with me through this? And if they say no, then just go find them something else. If they say yes, get a purchase agreement and move forward with it. And maybe you can train that realtor and it'll be a good relationship. What I said before, like it's a little bit crass, but it's frustrating sometimes that people call themselves, all like, I know how to do a probate deal, and they get their sellers into the worst position because they really didn't understand what they were supposed to do. So it doesn't have to be hostile. It can be collaborative. James, you're patiently waiting. How can we help you?
A quick question. Had a property had a reverse mortgage and the PR reached out to me. I guess they're waiting for the letter of testamentary. Should be coming down within the next week or so. So she's trying to prep the property. Most likely it's going to be a listing engagement. However, I just want to know what's the relationship between someone had the property under reverse mortgage and the PR is asking me that I have to talk to a HUD representative. 'Cause she basically not telling me much. She's asking me to speak to this Mr. I don't know what his name. He's gonna give me the contact, but I gotta speak to HUD. I don't know what the relationship is.
What was the date of death?
Sometime in January of 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay. So chances are that lender is already in the period where they can recover the asset. So they could foreclose at any minute. Usually it's a 6-month clock. If they find out that the borrower is deceased, which I'm surprised they haven't already, but when they find out, they're likely to start the foreclosure process. I haven't had a whole lot of luck stopping those. So you want to make sure you get it on the market as soon as possible. As far as the connection to HUD, I don't see any reason why you would have to make a connection with HUD. You need a payoff statement from the lender and you need two parties to agree to a contract and you can close.
So most likely just have to go through an investor, just listing it and waiting for, I guess we might not have time for that. Is that where you're?
Do you have a relationship with a title company that can do a preliminary and just tell you if there's notice of default?
Yep, I have a relationship. I'm here in New York, so isn't the foreclosure take a while?
Yeah. So what I would do if you can do it without having to pay for title, just call your title company and say, hey, can you check and see if there's any notice of lis pendens or notice of default against this property? And if the answer is no, that's great because you have a long fuse. You have plenty of time.
Okay.
But yeah, they have to follow the normal foreclosure process. So if they haven't initiated that, then you probably have 90 to 120 days. You should be good.
I see. Okay. But if they're in foreclosure, then what would be my next step?
Then you probably need a cash buyer to come in and get it done quickly. If you see that, you'll see what the scheduled sale date is.
Correct.
And you'll know what your timeline is, but it could be inside of 30 days. Do you think it's a retail or a buy and hold rental, or what do you think the best use is?
The property is in mint condition. It's definitely suitable for retail. So I was trying to get the listing agreement, but before she decided to sign, she said, you got to speak to the representative from the HUD. He knows everything. He's handled everything. Apparently, he's the one giving them all the counseling. So in my mind, I'm like, so why should I speak to someone in HUD?
There's probably no reason. It was probably just they found somebody in the housing authority and they were just being helpful. But I'm not aware of anything that would require you to have to make contact with HUD. If he or she have been talking to that person, go ahead and give them a call and just get yourself caught up on the conversation.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, if it's a retail deal, do you have any idea what the payoff is? Do you know what the outstanding balance is?
So I think the house could easily go for 600. I think outstanding balance based on what my conversation with her is about 350. So we're talking about 200 of equity. We talk.
Okay. And do they expect 600?
Oh no, she's not being realistic. She's expecting 800, but that's my job.
So bringing an investor in at an attractive price is probably not possible.
Correct.
Yeah. You have to come up with an end buyer who has cash. Correct.
And didn't see reality yet, but that's fine. I could work with her on that. But
yeah,
I'm just more concerned about this talking to HUD and want to see whether she could list it. But no, I guess I need to figure out the foreclosure deadline before I do anything.
And get a payoff amount.
All right. Thank you, Chad.
Okay. Thanks, James. All right. Yeah, Kat made a good point. There might be a HECM counselor that would fall under HUD, so an advocate that is there to answer questions mainly for senior citizens about reverse mortgages and HECM loans. So that could be who they're talking to. All right. Who else? We got lots of active deals on the table today. That's good. Dave Pinnell, I haven't talked to you in ages, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man.
How's your year going down in Texas?
We pretty much took the last month off, so I'm just now getting back to it. We found 2 properties that were expired on MLS that we got a hold of that did pretty well.
You flipped those?
Yeah.
Did you get your own house done yet?
No, I'm almost done. I'm sitting in it right now.
That way, I bought a house in October and I haven't touched it. Like I used to flip
Yeah.
out. My average was 71 days, key to key, like sold
Yeah.
to sold. And now I've had mine for 3 months and haven't barely opened the front door on the damn thing.
This thing's going on 3 years, but we didn't touch it for the first year because we didn't have an idea what to do with it.
When the temperatures are single digits, it's hard to motivate yourself to do construction.
Yeah, that's tough. It goes from 80 to 20s right now in Texas.
Gary Nash, good to see you. Sorry you're not with me. I just took off and left. I didn't have time to invite you on this trip. I'll get you next month. I'm in Central Florida, really nice hunting lodge. We're helping control the wild boar population, duck hunting, bow fishing, just a little run from the snow vacation. Yeah. Nice. So whoever is sold, I like your Zoom name, sold, they were able to buy 2 homes since being affiliated with the group. So that's awesome.
I really appreciate it. All the info's been great. I've had an admin run the whole thing and able to buy 2 and hoping to make, 70, 80,000 between the 2 of them. So it's been a worthwhile deal.
That's nice. So you're doing fix and flip?
Yeah, so far.
Awesome. How many flips do you do per year?
2 or 3 usually.
Okay. So you've been
Yeah.
able to do a year's worth of business in just a couple of months.
Yeah. The cool thing was I was able to find one that my daughter was able to, I was able to fix it up and give her a property she could have never found because the market's so dang hot, not including in the 2. So it was one that was a great equity position to put her in, her life started. So like I said, I'm just really appreciate it.
That's amazing. And when did you get started? But when did you take the course?
Maybe the middle to tail end of last year, November or so, we got all the letters starting to go out for 13 months and bought 3 properties. And that was really what I was looking for. But I've had somebody else sending all this stuff out. And so that's been an investment. And I really didn't see anything for 6 months. And then it was just like a fire hose now. So it's really been great.
So don't let off the gas. You've built the snowball. And I see so many people, like they'll spend 6 months and they'll do all the things they're supposed to. They're diligent, they understand it, but they give up and they never hit that momentum. And what I love is when I love these stories. Like you showed up here, and if you look at Bill Gross and David Pinnell, like we all have that. There's a ramp up period where it just takes time to get it rolling. But once you get the momentum, they seem to just find their way to you. So for anyone who's listening, who's getting discouraged or frustrated, keep on keeping on. Like this works everywhere. I've never been skunked. The toughest market in the whole country is around the Denver metro area. But I don't know if Dave's here today, Dave Gwynn, he stuck with it in the Denver market. Took him probably 6 months, but when he finally hit it, he got momentum. Then he opened up markets in Florida as well as Colorado. So for anyone who's feeling frustrated or like it's not working, listen to these stories. It will work. And you can replace all of your other strategies with this. I was able to.
One thing I added was I started sending a business card, and on the back it offered a free cup of coffee, and it was cool. And also somebody wants more information and they have me out, I'll give them a free dumpster for, emptying out the house. So that's grabbed a little bit of attention. That's almost $400 in our area for a 30-yard dumpster, but it's got some good conversations.
I really like that as an incentive. I've never actually seen anyone do it. So my brain just went crazy with that and took it to a whole new level. You can buy a roll-off dumpster on a roll-off trailer for about $30,000. So anyone who's doing this at scale, what a hell of an incentive if you had a big branded roll-off dumpster and you have one of your staff members just take a gooseneck, trailer over, drop it off at the house. You've got a freaking 30-foot billboard the whole time the family's cleaning out the house. And it's a $30,000 write-off. You depreciate it over probably 5 years. I don't know where dumpsters fall in, but you can depreciate that as a business expense. And on all your flips, you've got your own damn roll-off. Like you'll save $400 every time you do a house. So if anyone has the budget for that, Pinnell, you should do this, man.
They paid for 30 dumpsters or 40 dumpsters.
Go get that done. That's a great incentive. That's something, include that in every letter. Listen, we know that personal property is one of the biggest challenges, and put a picture of it in your marketing and say, this is free for each family we help. That's amazing.
Last thing I added, and maybe this is good or bad, you can give me your advice. But on it, I had a couple complaints. People said, hey, this is so insensitive. I can't believe you're sending all these letters. So now I added something. Please shoot us a text if you don't want any letters or if you want any more information. So hopefully people that are going to be really offended would just text us and say, hey, take us off the list or whatever. So,
I really like that too. I think that's a great ending for the PS line. Like I always say, PS, if you're not ready to talk right now, be sure to learn more about us here. And then
Yeah.
another sentence, that's a great way to thin out your list. I might mark them not interested, but not lose them because a lot of those are not going to be interested now, but they're going to be very interested after sitting on their hands doing nothing for 3 to 4 to 6 months. It would be a way to prioritize your list for sure. That's a good idea.
thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's amazing. I'm proud of your results. Bill Gross. you're
I was just
patiently
gonna
waiting.
ask if you might, when you're looking for questions, you might explain the Grant Cox program being done tomorrow.
Yeah, Grant is, I don't know, you guys haven't seen a lot of Grant. Grant's a good friend of mine. He's a CPE and he's building his business in Northern Virginia. This will be his second year in brokerage. And so he's going to be doing webinars just introducing folks to probate who might be like the realtor Chris is working with. They want to be in the space and they want to do a good job, but they just haven't found the right source of information. So it's just a brief introduction to probate. For you guys, anyone that you may have met at a conference, or it's Bill in your instance, like someone in your part of your EXP network. I don't know that Kat has actually sent this out, but for all of you guys, for anyone who's alumni, if you would like to become an affiliate, Kat can send you a link where you can register. And we'll pay you a commission for any of those folks. If you have a big EXP team all over the country, if you want to bring them into the community, we'll actually pay you an affiliate commission on those. So, but it's mainly to get the right people into the community just so we can reach more without Grant having to make 40 hours of calls a week. And Bill, if you want to come and co-host and contribute, you're welcome to. Or if you want to bring your EXP people, it's a basic introduction to probate. It's certainly not going to be over your head. Like you're a veteran at this point. Stan, you're up next, it looks like.
What's going on, Chad?
How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I've been really busy. I haven't had time to keep up with or respond to anyone's messages. And the reason is because everything is starting to work now. All the work that I've been putting in with probate mastery and reaching out. So I have a question. A personal representative, he actually called me. So I sent out my letter. He gave me a call after checking out my website. And there's two things I'm helping him out with right now. The first one would be he has some burial plots in Laurel, Maryland, and he does not know how to sell it. I know there's three options. He can either sell it online, he can try to sell it back to the cemetery, and the cemetery does not buy back those plots, or he can just donate them. Do you know of any other way?
Does he need money?
He would like to have the money. It's not really a need.
Okay. So you might actually get more of a cash benefit out of donating them, because if they paid X and they're now worth X times 5, he may be able to get a tax receipt for X times 5. And the 30% of that is a cash benefit. The tax savings may be worth more than he'll actually get out of them, is my point. I don't know what values we're talking about here, but donating isn't a bad route to go. And it would be easy to offload them. Just make sure they're donated to someone like a church who can give you a nonprofit tax receipt. So you could, for example, you'd claim a value of $100,000 and get a $30,000 cash benefit off of your taxes. Does that make sense?
Say that again, please.
If he could validate a $100,000 value for the plots and donate them to a church, then the church could give him a tax receipt as a nonprofit for $100,000 donated. Then he can take that to his CPA and it will be worth 30%, basically be a $30,000 tax credit.
Okay.
So I'm showing you a way to get a cash value for the donation through tax credits.
Okay.
Did you track with that, or you want to talk about it some more?
Yeah, actually, yeah, just talk about it some more.
Okay, so let's say we can support a value of $100,000 for 2 cemetery lots. If we donate that to a church who is a not-for-profit entity, then they can give us a tax receipt, just like Goodwill. When you drop something off at Goodwill, they say, you want a receipt? And you can fill in whatever value that bag of clothes was and hand that to your CPA. Typically, for most people, it's going to be worth about 30% of that. So if it was a $100,000 donation and they have a 30% effective tax rate, then you could get what's equivalent to a $30,000 tax credit. So if he doesn't need cash and he has a tax liability for 2021, then he could erase his tax liability and get rid of the lot.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
You can put them on the open market, and that's probably going to take some time and conversations and negotiating and haggling. It would be a lot easier to just donate them to a church. Some family in need will get a cemetery plot in a high net worth area where they wouldn't have been able to afford it. And you get your client gets the tax benefit, and you can get it done very quickly.
Yeah, he was pretty wary of going online and selling with Craigslist or Marketplace.
So maybe is he a member of a church?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean, I would look for a church that's well put together, that's well established. They should have no problem writing you a receipt for those. And then he
Okay.
hands that to the CPA.
Great, great. The second
And
question.
in this case, since probate is still open, right?
Yes, it is.
So in this case, the estate's final tax return would receive that credit. It might not be a great idea if the estate didn't have more than X, whatever that number is, more than X of a tax liability. It might not be the best strategy. It just depends on his situation, but it's certainly an option.
Okay. All right, great. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback. The second question I have for you is he's really entrusted me as the probate expert because any questions he has, he comes to me and I direct him either to a probate clerk or an attorney. And he's really trusting me. So there's a property that he wants to sell as well. And I'm getting it on the contract tomorrow. I just have to fill out the contract, which I haven't done. So the dilemma I'm having is this will be my first. The home has 100% equity. The only thing it really needs is a new bath, probably upgrade the kitchen and just paint. And that's about it. I just don't know how to dispose of this property. I'm not sure if I should wholesale. And it's also zoned as a multi-family residence. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms and an unfinished basement, which can be turned into another living quarter. Not sure if I should wholesale this one or just hold it for myself.
Depends. Do you want to be a landlord?
This is my first. I have no experience and I don't know what it's like to be a landlord. I'm not afraid of it, but I would like to do some, learn more about it.
I usually ask the question like this: is making quick cash or building long-term wealth more important to you?
Long-term wealth. I remember the conversation we had prior. You mentioned you regret wholesaling most of the properties that you had.
Yep. So if you're looking to turn the house into a bank, it's a free and clear asset. Get it, do your rehab, get a tenant in place, and then go do a cash out refi or put a home equity line of credit against it and move on to the next deal. And it'll pay you forever. And don't ever sell it.
And I just want to throw in there, if it's a zone multi-family, how big is the lot, Stan?
It is 1350.
Oh, that's really small. Okay. What Chad said then. I was gonna say, if it's a big lot, you might consider trying to see if you can build it out to a duplex or do some added footprint. You can then potentially put 2 tenants in there and really realize that long-term wealth that you're trying to achieve. But it sounds small.
Thanks, Nina.
Yeah. Do you know what the market rent is? Have you looked at that stuff?
I haven't. I've just been, I've been receiving an influx of visitors and people I need to reach back out to. It's overwhelming now, actually.
That's a good way to be overwhelmed. Do you have good credit? Can you refi your cash back out of the asset if you buy it?
I can look into it.
Okay.
And I also have a relationship with a hard money lender.
Not on long-term buy and hold. It'll eat you alive. You need to go to a community bank after you have a tenant in place. So do the kitchen, do the bathrooms, do the paint, put a tenant, get at least 2 months of rent, and then take the proof of all that to a community bank and ask them for a cash out refi just for the amount you have in, not $1 more. And you'll get it. Right now. Rates have risen because bond yields are the T-bills are moving up, but you're probably going to get it at 4.25, 4.5 will be the rate on that of the portfolio loan. And as long as your monthly rent is at least 125% of the debt service you're asking them for, they'll approve it. It's an asset-based loan. It doesn't even matter if you have really good credit, then I would say go to somebody like First Citizens Bank if you have above a 750 credit score, and just do a home equity line of credit. So you're not actually making a payment. You just set up a line of credit. It's a $750 fee. They'll take you up with that credit score. They'll let you go all the way to 90% loan to value. And that's prime plus 1.25. So you're going to be probably at, I don't know, you'll be at probably 3.25 on that, or probably I think it's 3.49 is what I have with them right now. So you can turn this one into a piggy bank to have strike money for your next deal, or you can get in with your cash, refinance it just for the amount you're in it, and then get your principal back and let the tenant pay off that. But right now is a really good time to take advantage while rates are still where they are. They're going to be moving, not a whole lot. They're going to collapse the equities market if they try to move them too much. But there'll be a whole lot of talk about that. But this is ridiculously cheap debt, and inflation is paying it off for you. And Gary Nash has something to add to I stepped over you, Gary. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Hey, I was just, what city is that where the property's at?
Baltimore.
Maryland?
Yes.
Oh, you just found a buyer. All of my
Okay.
advice just went out the window.
Okay, and how big is the house?
It's really hard for me to find the exact square footage of the house. The only thing that's on record is the lot size,
And the lot is 1,000 square feet?
1350.
It sounds like the house. They might have just misappropriated that. How many bedrooms and bathrooms is it?
It's 3 full bedrooms upstairs and a full bathroom upstairs. And there is a living room on the main floor with an additional room that was converted into another bedroom, as well as another full bath. And then there is a basement.
It sounds like it might be a row home.
Yeah, it's a row home.
Okay, so there basically is no land. The land is 1,350 square feet. So is the first each floor. So you've got 1,350 times 3 probably is your home square footage.
Oh, that's how it works?
Probably. That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
But you might have an
Yeah, and,
Airbnb on your
I mean, I
hands,
would go to
man.
the city.
It's in a developing area. So it's
Okay. Yeah, if it's zone multifamily, it might say that because it's in a row house type of dealio. But I would definitely call the zoning, give them your address and ask them what you can do with the property. Because if you can convert that into a duplex or a multifamily, and while you got them on the phone, you might want to ask them about Airbnb. I'd do that before I made any decisions because you want to figure out what your most profitable exit strategy is going to be. And also factor in your current situation, what it is that you want to do. Right now, with the way that the market is, I personally like to create the most value I can because that way I can pull a lot of my money back out after I make an improvement to it with the lender and put that profit in my pocket and not be taxed on it until I sell it, which I never intend to, and then have a nice monthly income. When honestly, you've done right, but you're only 10 deals away.
Gary, you haven't introduced yourself in a while. Tell Stan who you are and about your course. This is what you teach, like knowing what disposition strategy best suits, is most profitable and best suits what you're trying to accomplish. Gary covers this in his course and teaches you how to do that. So if you want to tell him how to find more about you.
Before I forget, go to GIA free training. It'll take 12 minutes out of your day and that'll tell you everything about the course. But I have extensive construction background. I was a design build contractor, voted as one of the top 50 in the country by Remodeling Magazine. And I, broke out into the investing world and I apply what I've learned on how to add incredible value to properties, how to create space within the space and really get a lot of value. For example, I have a house under construction right now that by putting another $15,000 into the property, I escalated the value by 75,000. Who would not invest 15 to get 75? This is one of the things that you want to take into careful consideration because if you can add significant value, you don't want to miss out and you don't want to pass that, on to another investor because if, one of my investor friends, said, would you turn down 40,000? I'd say, yeah, because 40,000 after tax is only 26,000 and 60,000 in your pocket tax free times 10. That's some serious coin. So anyway, you need to throw those factors into whatever your deal is and definitely do the background check with the city to find out if in fact you can convert that into a duplex because that will be a huge cash cow and raise the value up exponentially.
Thanks, Gary. Gary, can you drop the link that you mentioned in the public chat?
Sure.
Someone had asked for that. Frank had a comment for you, Stan, to make sure you check RPR, which is Realtor's Property Resource. If you don't have access to that, talk to your realtor, but see if you can get the property details there. That's good advice. Nina has suggested check Airbnb site itself. They now post the city licensing requirements and policies for Airbnb. You can realize 3 times the rent rate doing Airbnb and you don't have to deal with tenants. James had asked, what is the name of the bank that I suggested for a home equity line of credit? So I use almost exclusively now First Citizens Bank. Before last week, they were a $24 billion bank that still acts like a community bank. Now they acquired CIT Bank, so they're now a $100 billion bank that still acts like a community bank. So I do home equity line of credit at 90 LTV. If you have over a 750 credit score, they will go up to a 90 LTV, $750 in closing costs, and prime plus 1.25. That's the terms. They also do, and this is what I'm doing with the house that I just bought. I looked at doing a HELOC, and then I saw in the lobby they had this home improvement loan. Typically only the FHA rehab loans, and those are such a pain. But they now offer a loan. They're calling it home improvement loan. That program, it's $75 origination, 3.49%, no underwriting, a $50,000 loan closed in a day. They're a really good, healthy bank that's eager to lend on real estate right now, and they have some great loan programs. And they do have a commercial loan department. Like, for example, the last quote I got from them on commercial was for a log lodge that I was going to buy and convert to a short-term rental and an campground. On that, it was a $380,000 acquisition, 150 in capex. They quoted me on a 20-year amortization, 5-year rate adjustment, 3.75 on $500,000 basically, from the commercial side of First Citizens Bank. So I'm sure I know they're in Washington because I've gone to them there. They were in 11 states before they bought CIT Bank. And the bank in Florida, First Citizens, is here. They're a great bank to work with. All right. Anybody else have your hand up? I think we've cleared the chat. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to share?
I just wanted to had a follow-up question, what you just said about the campground. Did you follow through with that?
The seller flaked on that deal.
Oh, okay.
I'm playing cat and mouse with him now because he lied to me. So I'm trying to prove a moral point, and I'm letting him sweat some bullets through the winter because he ate up 6 months of construction timeline. It's for that.
Do you know what that are you putting in full hookups?
What I was doing with that one, because I had to go over a septic drain line, it's only Schedule 80. So I was only doing a light Sprinter van campground. So I was going to do a small solar, like a small bathhouse, and then just common area amenities, not like a full on. You can actually make much better margins and a lot more profit by doing just this light campgrounds with amenities. So you can use apps like Campendium, The Dirt, DYRT, Campanda, HipCamp is the other one. HipCamp, Campendium. If you put them on there, those are essentially the Airbnbs of campsites now. And you can get, like, I'm here in Central Florida. You look on it, even on Airbnb, people are in the middle of nowhere renting a spot behind their shed for 60 and 80 bucks a night. And you don't have to do full hookups and all that. So I would recommend, in most scenarios, you're going to be way more profitable if you leave the sewage out of it. Just give them fresh water and give them at least a 30 amp hookup, and you'll be good to go. But what I was doing is I was going to build a bluegrass stage, have a bar that a local brewery could come into, like when we were playing shows, and then put like a 1,000-gallon underground propane tank, and then put gas lamps out through the wood, and then have local artists exhibit their art pieces, their sculptures in the trees, like in the woods. So it would be an artisan's trail. It was right on the river. It's on the Greenbrier River Trail. There's a town 6 miles down trail. So I was just kind of making it like an outdoorsy person's nice hip camp for everybody. But for those, I could get about $50 a night for sites like that. And then on weekends when we have bluegrass shows and things like that, we could charge more. But I would say lighter is better when it comes to campgrounds, unless you're really going full scale. If you really want to make money in campgrounds, you make sure you can get over 60 pads and you do your hookups on the back, make a single run of sewer and water across the back, and then bring it up to your dump. So people are never going across your plumbing. You can make real money with them, but really when you get above 60 pads is where you can afford a manager, and it won't be a job, it will be a business.
Hey, Chad, to that, what do you think about lots for van lifers? One thing that I've found in the van life world, people who live in vans, they're minivans, and then they're doing some really crazy outfitting of vans these days.
Yeah.
And yet, but the biggest challenge they find is being able to find a place to park for the night before they go to their next destination or to park for a few days. Do you think that might be a good opportunity to invest? I have several mobile home investors who were excited about mobile homes still. And
We had this conversation once when I was when I was standing on a riverbank. I think it was in May when we talked about this. My friend Cody bought 4 acres outside of Joshua Tree National Park. It's just barren desert land, no water, no electricity, nothing. It was paid off in 3 months, and they make about $1,500 a month off of that now in perpetuity. Like they're overflow because people can't get sites in Joshua Tree. So if you're near employment centers, like one of my friends, he helped build Twitter, Facebook, and Airbnb. He was one of the lead programmers on all 3 of those apps. He lived in a van the entire time, making $450,000 a year, living in a Sprinter van. And he finally moved to Austin and rented a house. So if you can get near those employment centers in California, like people are dying for stuff like that. And they can be very wealthy people. They just choose to opt out of conventional life because they're aggressively building their net worth and investing like Gabe. So I think it's a great idea if you can come up with affordable land, especially if you can add amenities like a bathhouse, or if you're close to a gym. Like a lot of the van lifers, their trick is to sign up for Planet Fitness so they can go there every morning and work out and take a shower. They don't have to take up half of the back of their vehicle just to have a shower. So the Planet Fitness, or build your own bathhouse. If there's some other tips, make sure it's on a public sanitary route so you can have a dumpster and you don't have to go empty trash cans or pull them out to the curb. Buy something that where you can actually have a commercial dumpster on site and they come with the truck and dump it without you having to call anyone. But these can be some of the best real estate plays out, period. And there are a ton of people buying Sprinter vans. And a lot of people don't realize this. When you see one of those camper vans going down the road, the cheapest you can get into one is about 40 grand. Most people are spending $125 to $150 if you buy one that was commercially produced. If you get a Mercedes diesel that was built by Winnebago, that's a $150,000 van, even if it is just a 24-foot van. So these folks have money and they're saving a lot. They're not spending. They live very, very affordably. So they're not afraid to pay for camping because they don't pay for housing. All right. So Victoria said, I just completed your course. Should I keep the probate business separate from real estate? I'm an agent under a brokerage here in Florida. My broker is not thrilled and relates probate services to chasing ambulances. I've considered creating an LLC. Is it better to market yourself as insured and bonded? Victoria, do you have a microphone so we can talk? Okay. So what I would say, I have a question, is when you say, should I keep my probate business separate from real estate? Do you see your probate business as exclusively investor business? What I would say is you should always keep your investor business separate from your brokerage business, because if anybody when you are acting as an investor, if they accuse you of not serving them as an agent, you have a clear separation, separate bank account, separate credit cards, separate LLC. As far as the activity, like talking about both options, I don't think they should be separated. My advice would be go find a new broker. There's a few million of them. So if your broker doesn't believe in you holding yourself to a higher ethical standard and educating yourself, and likely his other agents aren't, and he thinks you're an ambulance chaser, I would tell him to kiss your assets and I would go find a new broker is what I would do.
Thank you, Chad. I finally figured out how to work the button.
Yeah. So I really believe in separating the investor business from the brokerage business, just in case anything ever happens, there's a firewall. But as far as talking about it, I'm Chad. And Chad is going to talk to you about everything from selling the house today for cash to selling the house in 6 months in its top shape, fully renovated condition. And I don't know what hat I'm going to wear until I understand what's going to be best for you. Then we'll have the agency conversation if needed. Otherwise, we'll have the I'm a licensed realtor, I'm buying this house to make a profit conversation. But my broker shouldn't be the one that dictates who I talk to and what services I offer.
Your brokerage can't tell you what you can and can't do in terms of investing. You know, some brokerages, my previous brokerage had a requirement that they would earn a commission on my private sales, my private purchases. And I said, no way, not under my LLC. I'm self-representing as myself, an individual of my LLC, not as an agent. You don't get money on that. And they kept enforcing it. And I said, bye-bye.
It's common. I had to interview 12 brokers when I first moved to Virginia before I found the one, and I'm still with her. I had no problem at all.
What are your thoughts on getting insured and bonded?
I don't think it's necessary. You have the protection of an LLC and you have E&O on the investor side and potentially also on the brokerage side, but you have E&O insurance on the brokerage side. So I don't think it's necessary.
You would suggest getting an LLC?
Yeah, for your investment business, you should absolutely get an LLC. It's super cheap insurance. So what I recommend, and we haven't talked about this in a while, so I recommend you might need an LLC for your brokerage business. In most states, you need to move your license over to the LLC if that's how you do it. And that can sometimes not really be that beneficial. If you're making more than $140,000 a year on the brokerage side, then it can be very beneficial. You set up a single member LLC and you take the S Corp designation with the IRS. So then you pay yourself a W-2 salary and the rest of it comes to you as distribution. There's big tax advantages to doing that. if you have brokerage that is yielding more than $140,000 a year in revenue. As far as the investor business, it's $100 a year to have an LLC, and you get all that legal protection. So I would absolutely recommend you do that. And then across you personally, you should purchase an umbrella policy. So if you purchase $1 million umbrella policy on yourself, that covers your, let's just say hypothetically, your sole proprietorship of Victoria the Realtor. And then your LLC is Victoria Buys Houses LLC. That umbrella policy could protect anything that would get through your corporate veils. Chris had mentioned Harvest Host. Yeah, so Harvest Hosts are awesome, but it's not really a moneymaker. You volunteer. Typically, I stayed at a lot of Harvest Hosts, but they volunteer to give you the campsite for free so they can sell you wine or beer or museum tickets.
I just meant as a model, to take a look as a model.
Oh, yeah. For sure. There's some super cool campsites. They're free. So it's a marketing play for them. And a Harvest Host member, you pay, I think I pay $60 and $58 a year. And then I can stay one night typical, but if you get to know the host, a lot of times they'll let you stay longer. But look at some of those, just browse for inspiration, browse through their site and look at some of the way they've set up their space. Some of them are just like a field or a gravel parking lot, a brewery, but some of them are pretty cool. All right. And I am going to jump. We're just at the top of the hour. So as always, guys, this was a great conversation. We had a lot of fun topics to cover today. Thanks for everybody who showed up and participated. Gary Nash, thank you for being here. John Frakert, always nice to see you. Dave Pinnell, I think you've already left, but good to see you. Nina, lots of familiar faces, a few new ones. But thank you guys so much for being part of our community, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Chad.